Paula Pant, the host of the Afford Anything podcast, likes to answer questions her listeners send in. This is a special episode where she also has Joe Saul-Sehy from the Stacking Benjamins show join in the fun.
Hi, Paula. I have another question for you, and this one deals with side hustles. I'm finally getting to the point that I'm ready to get off the ground with several side hustle ideas. I have like 5 or 6. My question is, should I have a separate bank account for each one of those? Or could I just have a generic side hustle bank account where all of that money goes? I'm hoping that eventually each of these business ideas could generate significant income and, eventually grow into something more formal, but I'm just wondering what would be my best plan of action for right now.
That's an excellent question. So the specific question that you asked is, should you have a separate bank account? But I want to zoom out for a minute and talk about having 5 to 6 different ideas. It's awesome that you have so many ideas. I am going to assume that what you mean is, I've got a bunch of different ideas. I'm going to test each one of them and see how they fly. And then whichever one is the best is the one that I'm going to focus on. Give it a gardening analogy. You plant a whole bunch of seeds. You see which one is growing the fastest or is growing the strongest, and then that is the plant that you actually nurture.
Yeah, maybe they all run themselves, and I'd love to hear more about what these side hustles are, because that was my first reaction too, Paula, is that we are not multitask. We're not built to multitask. All this research we've seen lately about people in multitasking, it doesn't work. And I often think that sometimes people want to make money at a side hustle when they haven't even tried to make more money at their primary place of business. You see those studies where your boss would give you a raise if you just ask for it, and we haven't asked for it and we're out doing other things. So the second I hear side hustle, my first reaction always is, tell me more about your main job. And then when I hear 6 side hustles, my brain explodes because I think, who could do that? I can't do that. So my reaction was very similar to yours.
Tell me more about that, Joe, because I know you had a bit of a visceral reaction when you first heard the question.
Well, that was it. It was it was how do I focus and make sure one of these is the quality business, and I'm sure that Adalia wants what every entrepreneur wants, which is to be associated with things that are awesome, right? And how can I pour enough awesome into my idea when it's competing with 5 other ideas and it's also competing with my main job? Because if she calls it a side hustle, I'm assuming she also has a full-time job on top of that, or has some other career going on. So I just can't be awesome. And maybe they do run themselves, but even then I would do one. And like you said, Paul, I would do one. I would test it. I would get it where it's running itself, then set that one aside on autopilot as much as I can, and then go to the next one. So I have a launch schedule of these ideas over maybe a 12-month period or 2 years. I need to know more about what these ideas are. When it comes to the second part of this question, which is separate bank accounts, let's assume that it is something, Paula, that she can do all of them. Not only does she want to have them have separate bank accounts, but she talks about them having significant revenue. If they're going to have significant revenue, I always, as a financial planner, I worry about a lawsuit. I worry about exposure to, whatever the customer might bring at me that will go after the assets of that company. And if that's the case, I not only want them to have a separate checking account, I want them to be in a separate entity. And that doesn't give me complete protection, but it's at least the first wall that separates one company from another so that I don't have a mistake in business number 4 of 6 that destroys all 6 of these ideas.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, I think it's premature to be talking about having separate bank accounts or separate entities for all of these, because right now these are purely in the idea stage, if I'm understanding correctly. I think what you will quickly find is that you can try all of these, you can test all of these. Some of them will do well and some will completely flop. I have started multiple websites and most of them died a quiet death in obscurity. So if I had gone to the trouble of setting up a separate bank account for each of these nascent sites, it would have just been a huge waste of time and effort. I started a whole bunch of sites, and if it flopped, which most of them did, then it flopped. The one that took off is the one that I poured everything into, and everything else I just let wither on the vine.
Yeah. And then you set it up it's business. Nascent. I'm still stuck, Paul, on the word nascent. That's phenomenal use of vocabulary right there.
Oh, I thank you. Thank you.
Yes. And by the way, everybody, a couple of Paula's businesses that didn't make it, Afford Most Everything. That didn't go well. AffordSomeStuff.com. That one, not that good either.
Afford.
Yeah, whole different thing. But you got to try. So, yeah, I totally agree. In the idea stage, it is a little premature. But she makes it so that those all do have significant income. Make sure you build walls. Build walls, Adalia.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, did you enjoy this excerpt from the Afford Anything podcast? Then be sure to subscribe to Paula's YouTube channel. Not only is every podcast episode and Ask Paula question released here on YouTube, other creative deep thought videos are created just for you. Remember, you can watch anything, just not everything. Fill your YouTube viewing time with more videos to make you think and grow so you can afford anything. Go ahead, hit that little red subscribe button. We'll take care of the rest.